for our reflection, which we will use the epistle for today, the first verses of the epistle for today. Put on the whole armor of God, so that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For our struggle is not against enemies of blood and flesh, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers of this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Today's New Testament reading reminds us that there are evil forces at work in the world. And these forces stand in direct opposition to the good news of Jesus Christ. And witnessing for Christ is always a challenge for Christians, because our Christian values go against the values of the world. And the writer of Ephesians is blunt. There are forces of evil in the world. But we must not limit evil just to our human conditions. The writer says our fight is not against the enemies of flesh and blood, but the writer sees evil in a bigger picture. We are fighting against, he says, the cosmic powers of this age, against the principalities and the forces of evil that exist in the world. Do you believe that there's evil in the world? Yes, there's evil in the world. If there are good spirits, there have to be bad spirits. And evil is expressed in many ways: violence, injustice, oppressive rulers. In so many ways, we see the spectacle of evil day by day. And evil is seen in the actions of men and women, boys and girls. We must not fool ourselves. There's evil in the world. There's wickedness in the world, and there are wicked people who do wicked things. Is that so? Yes. A friend of mine says, he always says, there are no wicked people, but people do wicked things. I'm not sure if he's right. Do you think he's right? And wicked people go about creating strife, sowing seeds of division, creating unease and delight for selfish gain. They are wicked people. They are wicked people who wish us evil and seek to destroy us. And if they get the opportunity, their wickedness will come to fruition. Can you name any of these persons? Don't do it. Keep it to yourself. But the New Testament reading is a summons to resist evil and fight against it wherever we see it and in whatever form it comes. There is evil in the world. There is wickedness, as the writer says, in high places, principalities and powers. And the Christian, or Christians, we are always in a war, an ongoing war with the forces of evil that are opposed to the will of God. And as such, we can never be complacent. We must always be on guard. If you let your guard down, if you take your eye off the ball, we shall be defeated by the powers of evil. And in our own strength, we cannot defeat the evil that exists. When the writer says to put on the whole armor of God, it is a reminder to all of us that in our own strength, we cannot overcome the evil we see in the world and the evil in our lives. When he says we are to put on the whole armor of God, he's saying, look, if you try to fight it in your own strength, you are going to lose. And so the text speaks of our needy and total dependence on God if we are to successfully defeat the spectacle of evil which exists in the world. So we need the strength of God. There's a hymn in our books, 419, which says, I will go in the strength of the Lord. I will go in the strength of the Lord. But how do we defeat the evil that exists? How do we destroy the evil that is present in the world? There are two ways we can destroy evil. One, through love. When we love, we are able to defeat evil. But if we do not love, and we seek to become evil, like the evil that exists, what will happen? It just spread. As you know, violence breeds violence. This is why Paul says, do not render evil to anyone. If your enemy is thirsty, what must you do? Give him something to drink. If he's hungry, what are you to do? Give him food. And if he's naked, what are you to do? Give him clothes to put on. So it is only by love that we can overcome evil. Only by love. And therefore, what we need to do if we want to defeat the power of evil is to love and love and love. But do not render evil for evil. And this love entails forgiveness and helping people to transform and to reset their lives. We are not going to defeat evil by destroying people. We will only defeat evil by loving the people who do evil. Not an easy task, huh? It's a challenge. But this is what Christianity is all about. A challenge to follow the example of Jesus Christ. And apart from love, the next weapon we have is prayer. And the writer says, prayer in the Spirit at all times. And in whatever situation of evil we find ourselves, we must pray for strength to overcome. Remember, there is evil in the world. And we must not downplay it. We must accept the reality that there is evil in the world. But very often, you and I, we focus on the evil in the world and forget to deal with the evil that is in us. In all of us, there's good and evil. In all of us, there's good and evil. Sometimes we are good, and sometimes we are bad. Sometimes we are angels, and sometimes we are devils, bad devils. And so Paul says that it is important that we fight the evil that exists in all of us. You and I, all of us. There's a constant war. Paul says in Romans, "For I know that good itself does not dwell in me." You know what Paul said? I know that good itself does not dwell in me. That is, in my sinful nature. For I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot do it. For I do not the good that I want to do, but evil is the only thing that I do with my body. And Paul he asked the question, who will rescue me from this predicament? And he cries, "Oh, wretched man that I am, who will save me from this body of sin?" I think what Paul is saying to all of us in Romans is that we have to fight against the evils and demons in our personal lives. I don't like to use the word demons because it would send funny ideas. But in a sense, we have demons in us and evil spirits. And the challenge which we face as Christians, as people, is not to allow evil to dominate our lives, not to allow evil to control our lives. We have to fight so that the good will overcome the evil. Because if we do not manage the evil in our lives, they will lead us into sin and prevent us from living a righteous life. There's evil in the world, and there's good and evil in you and in me. And day by day, we have to be engaged in that war as the forces of evil pull us. And so Paul says, let those who believe that they are standing be careful lest they fall. And Paul makes the point that Paul says, we are always fighting against the principalities and the rulers of this age. It never stops. It's an ongoing battle that we are involving. And Peter says, the devil is what? Like a roaring lion doing what? Walking around, seeking whom he can devour. And Paul says, do not make room for the devil. You see, if we let down our guards, we open an opportunity for evil to come in. Nowadays, we don't like to talk about the devil and Satan, but we have to be careful that we do not give the devil an open door to enter into our lives and destroy them. And so we might ask the question, but how can we overcome evil in our lives? We're not talking about evil in the world, but how can we overcome evil in our lives? I will give you 3 ways, I believe, that we can overcome evil in our lives. But let me remind us all again that there is evil and good in all of us. And our aim is to manage that evil. I believe we can overcome evil in our lives through the power of prayer. As the hymn says, take it to the Lord in prayer. And so on a daily basis, we must ask God to quiet the demons in us. On a daily basis, we must pray and ask God for strength and guidance so that we will be protected from evil. Can you name the demons in your life? Can you name them? If we are able to name them, then we are able to manage them and subdue them. So it is essential that we reflect and ask ourselves, what are the demons in my life? I know mine. You must know yours too. And be able to name them so that we can overcome them. And we must ask God to strengthen us against the pitfalls. In other words, we must not allow evil to get the better of us. Secondly, we can overcome the evil in our lives through the power of our minds. You know, your mind controls your actions. Do you know that? Your mind controls your actions. And so St. Paul says to us in Philippians, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, and if there is anything worthy of praise, what? Think about these things. And therefore, what we need to do, we need to fill our minds with good ideas, good thoughts. We need to strengthen our minds, because it's from the heart is what comes out. And so we can overcome evil and defeat it through the power of our minds. And finally, Paul speaks about the company, good manners. And so one way we can overcome evil is to choose our friends carefully. Friends who will help us to live in accordance with God's law, friends who will not lead us into sin. So what Paul says is true. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the flesh. May God bless all of us as we continue this pilgrimage and as we engage in this war against the powers of evil in the world and the power of evil in our lives. Amen.